Like so many of the Caribbean islands, this place was originally claimed by the Spaniards, who went on to lose it to the British, who were thoroughly trounced by the Portuguese, who then in turn lost it to the French, only to give it back to the Spaniards. Well, the British won it back again, but this time they lost it to the Dutch. With a 2-minute warning, the British won it back. But with seconds remaining before the final buzzer, the Dutch claimed it again and went on to win the game. Hi everybody, I'm Angelo Viola. Welcome to this week's Outdoor Journal. Now this might sound like a high school football game, but in fact it pretty well sums up the 500-year history of this tiny island paradise. Welcome to Curacao. Now I'm sure there were many reasons why ownership to this tiny piece of real estate was so hotly contested, but as for me, I can pretty well sum it up in one phrase: heaven on earth. There's everything that you'd expect in a Caribbean island here. The classic deep blue water and warm tropical climate that just begs for a dip in the ocean. Miles of beautiful beaches for snorkeling, beach volleyball, and of course boating. This is the city of Willemstad. It's Curaçao's largest city. In fact, it's Curaçao's only city. And even though the population of the island is no bigger than an average small city, this is one of the largest natural ports in the world. My guide today, above and below the water, is Vicki Howden of the newly built Habitat Curaçao Resort. Where are we facing now? Is this north?
This is the north coast of the island. And because of the wave action on this side, it's undercut this one particular cliff all the way in to almost make an amphitheater.
Wow.
This is called Boca Tabla Cave.
You said this was coral?
Yeah, the whole island's been thrust up out of the sea, so it's originally from coral reefs. Even look at the circular formations on that. Looks like a really ancient head of brain coral.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then obviously something's happened here to bring the whole thing down.
Probably a whole lot of wave action.
Yeah.
Judging by the sound and fury that I hear. You know, Angie, it so rarely ever rains in Curacao.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's all it's been doing since I've been here.
But when it does, here's a great spot to get out of the showers.
Sure, get out of the rain and get into a nice wet pit.
Yeah, this isn't a wet pit, just because your toes are going to get a little damp.
Wow.
And besides, the view is quite well worth it. Woo! Check this out.
That is spectacular.
Mother Nature hath no fury.
Can you imagine how long it took for this thing to erode? I mean, that's just water erosion, right?
Oh, absolutely. Just water erosion.
That is
I hope it hasn't reached the point that it's not stable enough anymore.
No.
That could be scary.
That is beautiful.
But you know, the mushroom cave we're going to go snorkeling in later is almost this exact same size inside.
Look at this thing.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get wet.
Nah.
Yeah, all right. I think we're going to get wet.
Yeehaw.
I think we're wet.
Ah, well, that's what we're here for. Well, we should go before we get wet in this one.
Yeah.
Hey, hey.
That is beautiful, Vicki. I knew it. I got wet. But before I get really wet, like scuba dive wet, we're going to check out the town some more. In 1499, a lieutenant of Christopher Columbus claimed the island for Spain. He was looking for gold. Then along came the Dutch. Curaçao became an important trading post. Some of the plantation houses, or landhousen, stemmed from this period. They were the country estates for the rich merchant families that lived in Willemstad. Most of these landhousen still exist today and have been restored as restaurants and museums. Buildings are so colorful. I read a story that the reason that all the buildings are pastel colors is that the governor made it a law back in 17-something that nobody could paint their buildings white because it gave them a migraine.
Right, exactly,
right?
exactly. You'll notice why there's so many old-fashioned buildings downtown is because Willemstad is on UNESCO's World Heritage List.
Okay.
So it's akin to the Taj Mahal and the Great Wall of China, specifically for the old architecture. Like this building here, the Peña building, was built in 1708. Because of the UNESCO World Heritage List, they're not allowed to tear down the buildings, just restore them.
And what Caribbean city wouldn't be complete without its outdoor market? This is one bit of a twist, though. It's built on floating barges. Also unique to this market is the language spoken here. It's a mix of Spanish, Dutch, English, and French. It's called Papumento. So, what language now? These guys are from
They're
Venezuela.
from Venezuela, so they speak Spanish.
They speak Spanish.
Right, but because they come here and Papiamento is so much like Spanish, they also speak Papiamento.
Oh, so they picked up the lingo as well.
Yeah, and they come over every week in their little boats loaded down with fruit, and usually stay here for the week.
What is that?
It's like
You don't know?
barracuda or pisca. ¿Qué tipo de pisca? Dorado? Oh, okay. Dolphin.
Dolphin.
Not flipper dolphin. Dolphin.
There's flies on it.
The fish.
You would sample some of that for me and let me know what it's like. Oh, get out of here.
No, I can do that. Yanchi's here is a very busy little restaurant.
Lunchtime.
Yes, but he serves sopi iguana.
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 I want to eat.
Yeah,
But I
sopi
wanna
iguana. Iguana soup.
Now, this is the world's longest floating pedestrian movable bridge.
Absolutely. This is the Queen Emma Bridge, and it was
I
built in
think-
1888, ironically by an American who was visiting the island. And notice that the people who lived over there, the Otra Banda side, Otra Banda means other side, but worked over here in Punda, had such a problem getting to and fro, etc. And he says, well, I realize you can't build a solid bridge because the entrance to the harbor is too important, so why don't I just build a floating bridge?
Jeez, I'd hate to be on this thing if it was rough.
Yeah, don't you feel it moving up and down?
That is weird.
A lot of
That
people get
is
seasick
weird.
walking across it.
I have not noticed an awful lot of Japanese restaurants and stuff. I'm a big fan of sushi.
You want to know? You want to see some sushi?
Yeah.
That's sushi right there.
What do you mean that's sushi?
Sushi is the Papiamento word for trash, garbage, dirty.
Sushi, just the way
Sushi.
it's like
Exactly
the
the
food.
way it's spelled and pronounced
Wow.
and everything. Yep.
No wonder there's no sushi.
Yeah, that's right.
It's,
If
it's
you
a good
say-
thing I didn't ask anybody
yeah.
for some sushi. Things above the water are certainly colorful, but apparently it pales by comparison to what's in store for us when we dip down below. Coming up, underwater bliss a few kicks from shore. Welcome back to the Outdoor Journal in the small Caribbean island of Curacao.
Only 3 years old.
Time to hit the water off the dock of the Habitat Curacao Resort. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this shore diving. What makes this one really unique is that you've got probably one of the best dives in the entire island right here in front of Habitat.
Absolutely. 2 kicks away from shore. All you have to do is step in, kick for
No
30
restrictions.
seconds.
Divers can go as far as they want,
Yeah.
when they want,
Yeah.
how they want.
We're the only ones with the diving freedom, with the 24-hour tanks, and we're the only ones that is specifically there just for diving.
People are here for one reason
People
only.
are
and that
here
is
for
to-
one reason only, to dive, and not even to dive. There's people out snorkeling there right now.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah. A lot of
Definitely
people
to
snorkeling.
enjoy the ocean that's out here, the beauty of the reefs, and the quiet countryside.
Okay,
And just for the
enough of
diver.
the frills and the superlatives. I came here for the sex. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, a lot of people come here twice a year.
I'm talking about sex out there.
Yeah.
We're hoping to catch the coral reef in full bloom, I guess, is the only way to put
the
it.
coral spawning occurs in this part of the Caribbean between the 6th to the 8th day after the full moons of September and October.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Show me around.
Absolutely.
This may be the place for diving freedom, but all the rules of safe diving still apply. Even though the reef is just 2 kicks from shore, the buddy rule is still very important. And it's even better if your buddy knows the reef like Vicky does. This is a regular aquarium in the wild. Here are just some of the creatures we saw on our first dive. This is a stoplight parrotfish. Here's the ocean's smartest coral, the brain coral. A bluehead wrasse has found a home in a purple tube sponge. Some flower coral. And here's a small school of goatfish. Vicky and I spotted a peacock flounder at rest on some coral. We moved in for a better look, but got too close and scared him off. I guess we must have woke him up. That's one of the lesser-known rules of diving. When viewing sea life, try not to get so close to the animal that you disturb it. It's easy to see where they get the names for these things, like this barrel sponge. And some sea rods. Feather duster. This colorful creature is the orange elephant ear sponge. You would think nature planned all of this for us divers. It's the perfect habitat for abundant sea life. With so much to see, you could easily miss a lot. I'd suggest that if you do come down here for a dive, that the first time you get the guided tour by someone who is familiar with the reef. I don't think I've ever seen such variety in one spot. But alas, I still haven't seen any of the elusive coral mating. But I've been told, just wait, it'll happen. Okay. What's our first stop that we're going to go to?
Our first stop is the Mushroom Cave. Yes, you do need to go out on a boat in order to see the cave.
There seems to be no end to the diving experiences here. You do need to be a certified diver, but that's no problem because many of the shops here will train you for your dive card. With card in hand, the ocean is your oyster. And if you can't get to your favorite spot off the shore, there are plenty of dive boats for hire. Once again, we're on the track for the mating coral. It's hard to believe they only mate twice a year when you consider that this whole reef, in fact, most of the island, is made up of coral. Now there's a rare sight, a sea turtle. Although there are hundreds of species of land and freshwater turtles, there are only 7 species of turtles that have returned to their saltwater home. Eels are often found hiding in the cracks. Although they look quite menacing, they'll leave you pretty much alone. Coral is in the same family as sea anemones and jellyfish. They, of course, lack the hard, shell-like outer casing of the coral. The casing is made from calcium that the creature extracts from the seawater. It was the combination of the coral and the action of the waves and currents that created the Mushroom Cave. This is one of Curacao's most unique features. The Mushroom Cave is the largest and most accessible of these structures. The waves have slowly eroded the cliff face, and the limestone ceiling gradually fell away, and a cave was formed. There's about 1.5 feet of clearance at the entrance to the cave. But once inside, the Mushroom Cave opens up into an area the size of a small theater. Looks like what I had for lunch the other day. I don't think these guys are all that happy about having their hiding spots exposed. Lobsters are generally sheepish and reclusive animals by day, but come nightfall they arise from their shady lairs to scavenge the seafloor for dead and dying animals. These caves are just the perfect habitat, dark, quiet, and out of range for most divers, and larger predators rarely venture into the shallow caves. The water at its max is only about 15 feet. Well, still no coral love on the reef, but I still have one more dive coming up. And now for your ABCs of the Caribbean. ABC being the 3 islands of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. The island of Curacao is located in the southwestern part of the Caribbean, just 44 miles north of South America. International flights come in often to Wilmstad, the island's capital and only city. It's a relatively small island of less than 200 square miles and has a population to match, just under 150,000 people. But it's incredibly diverse, with some 40 to 50 different nationalities living on the same island. The diversity on the surface is only matched by the diversity under the waves. There are literally hundreds of species of fish and coral that make the offshore reefs their home. And this is the reason why Habitat Curacao Resort is found here. Because the reef is so close to shore, Habitat Curacao offers something they call diving freedom, which literally means you can go diving 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right off the dock. Diving is so popular on this island that there's even snorkeling trails laid out in a marine park. Coming up, I plunge into the darkness for my first night dive. Welcome back to the Outdoor Journal in the island paradise of Curacao. Diving under normal daylight conditions is an exhilarating experience unto its own, but under the cover of darkness it takes on a whole different personality. What's the biggest difference between diving daytime and nighttime?
Well, for starters, the first thing is the color. Because in the daytime, yeah, I mean, the reefs are beautiful and colorful and clear, but they're lit up by the sun, X number of million miles away. At night, they're lit up by our lights.
Right.
This close. I mean, suddenly the bright red sponge is bright, bright red. All those reef fish, like the parrotfish, for example, that you see out swimming around so actively eating during the day, well, they get tired. So they tuck themselves under a little coral head, wrap a cocoon around themselves that they actually spit out of their mouths and create, and they go to sleep.
You told me I was going to experience sex on a coral reef tonight. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Oh, wow. That's just the added bonus to all the great things that you're going to see.
Okay, I'll take it as an added bonus.
Oh, it's definitely an added bonus. What you're going to see is certain types of hard corals, mountainous star corals, flower corals, as well as some types of sponges and brittle stars and sea cucumbers. The coral polyps collect the eggs and the sperm, and they eventually literally ripen, and then 6 to 8 days after the full moon, when it gets dark enough like it is tonight, they release all of these little bundles of sperm and little bundles of egg in mass release. Thousands of little balls that look kind of like tapioca pudding, for example.
That's what you meant by sex on the reef.
Right.
Kind of.
Because these are the sperms over here and the eggs over here, released in broadcast,
on a coral
floating
reef,
freely.
Sex, reef.
You got it.
All right. Well, let's get ready to
do it, shall we?
Yep. Let's hurry.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
No, this isn't underwater snow. These are millions and millions of tiny fish that come out at night. By the safety of nightfall, they come out in droves. And here's a rare sight, a sea snake. Of the 15 or so types of sea snakes, almost all of them live in the Indo-Pacific region. So to see one here is a real stroke of luck. It's amazing to think a night dive could be more colorful than a day dive. But the water, no matter how clear, filters out all the red light from the sun, so everything takes on a blue tinge under the surface. But our flashlights cut through the blue and show the reef's true colors. By day, I would have never known the trumpetfish was yellow and orange. Vicky was right. Just look at the color of that sponge. Again, here's an adult stoplight parrotfish in its real glory. This weird-looking thing is a netted barrel sponge. Our lights put the blue back in the blue tang. And here is another parrotfish. Just because it's night doesn't mean it's any safer from hungry finger-nipping eels. Well, here I am several feet underwater, and dare I say it, still looking for sex. I'm talking close encounters of the coral kind, of course. And there it is, just as promised, coral spawning. This is a rare sight. Coral are a pretty shy lot, and unlike us humans, they avoid the romance of full moonlight. Actually, it's more of a defense than shyness. The last thing the coral needs is its hopes for the future illuminated for a feeding frenzy by every hungry fish and assorted reef dweller. Well, now I've seen it all. Coral caves, reef creatures galore, and even romance by flashlight. And all, just as Vicky said, 2 kicks offshore. Touch the bottom of the deck.